hell happened there?
What?
OBS went weird.
What?
It's gone to...
So the camera's live.
It's taken us to Sunday nights.
Has it?
Yeah, look.
Bottom half.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you should be able to switch it back.
There's nothing. Go.
And for the first time, we're slightly early. Welcome to the Salty Dragon Tavern. Pull up a chair and come listen to us talk about our old wartime stories. As you can see, I've got mostly highwaymen with me tonight because a lot of other people who are going to come along have basically piked out because, you know, it's New Year's.
And they're all seedy as shit.
We're probably a little bit seedy too, but we decided to come along anyway. Thank you all for joining us on this evening, and there's not that many people in the chat. I didn't expect there to be. It's New Year's. I'd probably expect that like some of the Americans that we sometimes get here, or even the Europeans we get here, are probably still having their New Year's Eve at this present moment of time. So it'd be interesting if anyone from there joins in. As always, go through a little bits and pieces. So as I said, we've got all the events coming up in the LARP calendar for next year that we know of. So if you want to know about LARPs, scroll down in Twitch TV and scroll down to the bottom. You see we've got them all listed underneath the actual chat itself. Beyond that, welcome to 2019, folks. Welcome to Tim's Tables Talks for the new year.
Yeah!
Happy New Year.
As always, this running this particular type of stuff is not cheap, unfortunately. And we'd also like to say thank you to the people who have donated to us in the past, and to the people who have now bought us a new camera. So we've now got 4 cameras to play with. So it's really good. If you want to help support us in running this, the most simplest way, there's 2 simple ways through Twitch itself, is to buy a subscription. Even a level 1 subscription helps us out. It's $5 American, so it'll be like, what, $7 to $8 a month?
Give or take. Give
or take, and it's not that much, and it helps support us tenfold, and we can expand from here and go to other ideas. The other way to do it is to also buy bits and do bit cheers on the channel itself. Also, don't blame us if the internet's being a bit troublesome, because we live in Australia.
Apparently Sarah's trying to look smart by wearing glasses.
Shut up. I'm supposed to wear glasses.
Just going for the teacher look.
Oh, that's Mark. Yeah. I just looked at the username. I'm like, yeah, that's Mark. Dolt 79.
You'll cop it when we get home.
Yeah, he wants to get those in now before you get home.
Like my whole screen's frozen on my computer, but yeah, yours is fine.
You look great. It's fine.
It's like all right, well, let's get into this. Let's start telling some little stories. Who wants to start?
Age before beauty.
Yes.
I'm going first.
Yeah, that means
I don't have the other. I got tons of stories. I just don't know what to start with.
You're the oldest.
I know I'm the oldest. Just I got like too many stories to think of. All right. We're going to start with some small stories.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start one of the small stories I did for Drakenfest. I have a lot of stories from Drakenfest itself because. Go there. I think one of the things about Drakenfest that people don't realise is it's not the game itself so much. If you look at the way we run Sawcraft, and then you go to Drakenfest, if you pull away all the coolness of Drakenfest, you realise that the game is essentially the same. The only difference is that Drakenfest there's 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people, as opposed to 500-600. There's a big difference. So, the story that I've got for this one is the very first day that we were allowed to do sieges, which is not the first day of Drakenfest itself. So the second day, we were part of the Gold Camp, and the Gold Camp basically mustered up, got onto gear, was like 400 of us? 400?
Just a marginal
Just a marginal force. That was just the Gold Camp, and there's 10 camps. And we decided to go and siege the Grey Camp. Now, this is a very interesting story because those who have been to Sawcraft before and been in the sieges that we've had in the past, this story relates to that exactly the same way. When we went into that fight, it became a stalemate. So a lot of the time, it was like a lot of push and pull, and not quite getting in there. And there was a lot of, because they talk German and not English, it was hard. We didn't know what was going on, but apparently there's still a lot of out-of-character talk about people not taking their hits and stuff like that, which is quite interesting. I didn't know about it till afterwards, because they're all speaking German, so it sounds really immersive. So yeah, we get into this fight and it doesn't go as well as we expected it to. It was a bit of an anticlimactic thing, but we had like the Roman with their ballistas and all the other siege weapons. We had like 3 or 4 different siege weapons assaulting the camp because the rules state that if you get hit by a siege weapon, you're basically taken out of the fight. Whether you're dead or not is a different kettle of fish. So to try and help us win that fight, we got to a certain point when those who were still alive and still fighting would go to the front gate, do their fighting, then when the siege weapons were ready to fire, we'd split and create a tunnel so that the siege weapons can fire down and try and take out as many people as they could, which was very slow and very tiresome. We were doing that for a good hour. Another camp of people, not a camp, another group of people, it was about 30 of them, give or take. I didn't know the exact numbers. And they were from a completely different camp. I have no idea what camp they were from. But they were the Highlander types. So they had the kilts, they had all of the blue face paint, and had all of they were just completely like that. And they were fantastic. They were just walking by.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, they were walking by. And they decided, well, can we join in? And they said, yeah, no problems, you can join in. So what happened was this. We go into the fight, into the gate, start doing the fight. I was kind of like out and just watching this whole thing from here. They were fighting on the gate, and then we do that typical split waiting for the siege weapons to happen. This particular time, we split for the siege weapons, and those 30-odd Highlanders charge right down that tunnel into the thing. And they just charge madly into it. And I see, this is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. It's like this really tall German guy who's sort of like very, I wouldn't say he's very armored, very red and black, very sort of like, kind of like the Order in the way he's dressed and the way he's suited up and stuff like that. And he was tall, bald head, like kind of like a little bit like Mike Brady, but like with an extra foot on top of him. So he was quite intimidating. He's sitting up I can see him through the gates of the actual camp, of the Grey camp, and you can see him there. And one of the Highlanders runs in, and I see him, I kid you not, I see him do his massive running jump with a dagger. Jumps up so high, he actually jumps higher than the tall height of this guy, and basically just stabs him in the throat. Yeah, I kid you not. He's doing it like on the side type thing, so like, and the guy who's getting stabbed is like, and he dies and goes down. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I was like, holy shit, that was awesome.
Wrestling power.
Yeah. He kind of like, you know, in football when you like do a mark and stuff like that, you sort of like knee in the back of someone to use their particular height to get some extra height. He was kind of like the same thing. He jumped, used him a little bit to sort of give him his height, and so yes, stab. The guy took it, went down, died. It was beautiful.
That would have been amazing.
Beautiful. So yeah, that's one of my smaller little Dracofest stories.
That sounds amazing.
Cat hats and stuff like that. All got their halberds and stuff, and they're all just going nuts.
Oh, really cool. I want to go.
Oh, Dracofest is
You had to
really
find
good.
them.
One day.
They'd stick out in the crowd.
Yeah, I must apologise because it looks like perhaps
We're still up.
We're still up? Okay.
We're still up.
Our internet's just being a little bit dodgy at the moment, so... Alright, so who wants to go to the next story? I know, I don't even know where to
start. Like, yeah, well, your little story was like big, epic story.
It was a big little story.
Like big. That's what I was saying earlier.
Let's go back.
Like,
let's go back to some of the earlier Melbourne days of when we played.
Yeah.
If.
Some people know that I've been LARPing for 18 years now, and back in the day there were quite a lot of little LARP companies like Biff,
Philosopher's
Guild, and they were also, it was all about role play. It wasn't so much about the battle gaming and everything that we have now.
Role play.
Yeah, role play. But it's just like we were talking earlier about like one of my favorite funny scenes would have been Robert.
Yes.
Like Robert Hunt. Oh, Robert Anderson Hunt?
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to play this French character, and like he played the accent perfectly. And I remember like there was this one day, and we were all behind these huge logs, like preparing for a battle, and suddenly these big ice trolls come out, and there's this big NPC ice troll, and we've got to go battle it. And he's a French character, and he's just sitting there yelling out, "Astral! I'm going to go get the Astral!" And we're supposed to be serious, and we're pissing ourselves laughing because in the accent, yeah. it didn't come out as Ice Troll at all. But there was so many little funny stories. Like that one was hilarious. It was just one of those little funny ones.
Perhaps he was hallucinating and saw brown on their clubs.
Oh, it was just little funny things.
That reminds me, I'll have to tell a story about the FU as well.
The FU. This is where we have like the little in jokes where nobody understands.
Hi. We're on Tim Talks.
Newbie larpers.
But like I was saying earlier, like again, like Biff was more roleplay, but there was like things where you'd have to find clues and you'd have to find maps and you'd have to find everything to gather everything. So there was so much more adventuring.
Yes.
So much more adventuring. So it was like it was like D&D. Like it really was. You had your character, your adventure. You'd walk into a place. You'd fight or investigate.
Small group of people,
Yeah,
you know,
your
like typical rogues and warriors and mages and clerics, all that type of stuff. Sort of like, Biff was a bit different to Philosopher's Guild in the sense that in Biff, it was just a big group of us that would just sometimes conglomerate into smaller groups and go do things.
Yeah, because like some of the biggest weekends were like 50 or 60 people, like at most. That was like that was a big weekend for Biff.
Yeah.
One of my other funny stories, there was David, he played the priest of Loki.
Yep.
Right. And there was one time he was trying to burn or like get rid of a dead body, and he called down to Loki. He's like, Loki, help me burn this body. I need to clear it. And because Loki's the god of mischief, he set him on fire.
Yeah, I was like, you're asking the god
he's
of literal
asking the god of
asshole.
mischief to help him. So he sets him on fire. He's running around. It was so funny. But it was just all little things like that. Where we just had so much fun. And there was so many memories made in those days. But
so before we go on with more stories, I'd like to inform everyone I'm actually a lot taller. I'm just sitting in a smaller seat. I'm not having my head at the top of the screen.
He's just as short as I am. Like I'm in a normal. Oh wait.
I'm European. I'm longer in the legs. Okay.
All right. So which one of you boys wants to tell us a story about ATF?
I'll tell a story of ATF.
Go at it, bro.
It was on the Saturday around lunchtime.
Yeah.
I was playing an NPC at last ATF, which, for anyone that wants to know, it is an amazing experience. You will be run ragged, but you will have the most fun ever. But the STA, which are the military-style party that had taken over Sanctuary, we'd lost a few people over the last, 12 hours. So we decided we were going to hold them a little memorial. And we marched down through the centre of town, gathering more and more people as we went. So we ended up with Junkers, the faculty, we ended up with a couple of mutants, pit fiends, all gathering around the ceremony that we had.
I think it was a buffet.
The pit fiends, yes. But we were standing around, and the lieutenant colonel made her speech, and then the Mario playing the senator made his speech, and then as he walked off, there was a time freeze, which means that the red caps at ATF told everyone to stop, close their eyes, and as soon as they started doing that, the NPCs went around and started setting off smoke bombs. And I was one of the people with the smoke bombs, and I was lighting mine, and you watched as everyone in the crowd went from, oh, it's a time freeze, this is fun, smiling and being all like, oh, this will be entertaining. And as soon as they started hearing the smoke and then smelling the smoke, their smiles went from, oh, this is nice and fun to, oh no, what have I done? And then they were told that on continuation of time, you've just felt this really big explosion. And it's like, time back in 3, 2, 1, kaboom! All the SDA get knocked flat on their ass. We'd all been coated, I got coated in fake blood. It was bad.
Yeah, it's basically a scene with like, I think 30, 40 odd people, half of them knocked on the floor, blood covered everywhere, smoke bombs going off here and there and whatnot. It was a really good scene.
Yeah. After that, because I was one of the people knocked on my ass, I'm lying on the ground thinking, well, this is my NPC character dead. And I'm lying there, and then all of a sudden a mutant comes up and starts stabilizing me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to play out this death then. Start like gurgling because I'm like just blood all around my neck. So he starts stabilizing me. I end up being taken to the faculty and being stitched up and healed. So I actually managed to walk away from it. I don't know how. But yeah, it was just like this very surreal moment of people going, oh, this is nice and fun, to, oh God, no, we're all going to die. In like a matter of seconds, just watching the smiles on their faces disappear was hilarious. But yeah, that was probably one of the highlights of last ATF.
I just remember like how much blood was on my hands because there wasn't a lot of people with medic ability in the area when that went off. But my character did, and everyone's trying to get my character to safety. Like, you gotta go. I'm like, no, I gotta save my man. There's someone down on the floor. Like, I've got my hands like around people's throats, stabilizing everything. Okay. I remember walking away from that and just looking at my hands. And this was just blood all on my new costume and all on my hands. It was really like. Yeah,
intense.
It's very intense. Very
afterwards,
intense.
like I'm like lying in the faculty being stitched up, and I'm just like, I look at both my hands and there's just blood everywhere, and I'm like, well, that's sort of surreal. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm not going to look at my hands again. Let's not do that.
No.
So what's your ATF, Mikhail?
My ATF. I went to the ATF before Christian, so... you were there at the same time. You played the priest, didn't you?
I played the priest, yeah. I'm going to bring that story up. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. No, my favourite story is probably playing the Hillbilly Mutants.
Sorry, I just have to say this. Dolt79 says, oh no, you lost people. How on earth did that happen? Yeah, I wonder, you militia fuck.
Actually, sorry, before we continue on with your story, I'd like to say thank you, Wilhelm, for your subscription.
Oh, thank you.
So you were playing the mutant.
The
Hillbilly Mutant, that's right.
When I first heard about Hillbilly Mutants, it was from Mark. He explained the Hillbilly Mutants, and I couldn't wait to play them when I got to ATF. First time I got to play the Hillbilly Mutants, we were told just sound as weird and crazy as possible, like you got ants in your brain.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much what we ended up doing to begin with. What?
Just, the priest story needs to be told after this.
Oh, well, I'll tell the priest story. Was I part of that particular group when we were up on the back trail?
No, this was like the first showing of the Hillbilly Mutants.
Okay.
So it started off with us coming down to basically just patrol and catch anyone who was outside of Sanctuary. And a couple of the people hadn't heard about Hillbilly Mutants before. It's like this might have been their first time playing ATF, so they started shooting at us through the fence. So we decided to role play it out, and we kind of came around and started banging on the gate and everything, and they're all laughing and everything. Oh, what are they doing? They're shooting through the fence again. And I had this machete, but it was thin enough to fit through the gate, and the door bar was just there and no one was holding it. So I put the machete through, lifted up the door bar, and you just see like 4 or 5 people go, no! And start holding it down as hard as they can. And then we just kept shooting through the things while they were trying to hold the bar down. We eventually ran out of bullets and decided to walk off, and they all just kind of start heavy breathing and everything. As we were walking off, some people heard about the ruckus at the gate, and so they decided to make a party to come and hunt us.
Yes, is that when we were doing the thing?
Yeah, so that's when they came out, and they came around the side, and they started walking along the fence. I remember there was a few mutants. I remember specifically Dan DeBark being part of the mutants that came with us, and it was me and John, the dude who plays Fabio, with the Seconze. We just saw them, we're like, we got to get them before they get back to Century. So you just see all these like 8 mutants just sprint at like harsh speed towards them, and we were given bad hit points too. So we wiped out a couple of them. We got through, and then we got to the gate, and we deliberately kind of held back so that we wouldn't get in, but they weren't getting it. So we just kind of bottlenecked in and just started murdering people.
Yeah.
There's actually another story that I think you really need to tell, Mikhail, about ATF. The time you fed your girlfriend to the Wendigo.
Yeah. My very first character I got to play, because we had to play these refugees of sorts.
The refugees.
Yeah, the refugees with our shanty town.
Hilarious.
We all picked stupid jobs for a Raceland too. Like John was a paralegal.
Well, let's give them a bit of context for ATF. Okay, so in this particular part of the scenario, there was a nearby place that was held by, because the way ATF works is it wasn't a fall in a nuclear sense, it was just a fall of society. So there's still small pockets of corporate headquarters, buildings, so on and so forth, that still had the full technology that you could possibly want, but they were just self-contained little units. And there was one near Sanctuary where we were all playing. And this particular one had fallen apart for various different reasons. So all of the people who were inside, we're talking like, desk jockey types. So like, programmers, marketers, all those type of corporate people who have no survival skills. Yeah. So when the whole place fell apart and they basically had to leave that place, a lot of them ended up in Sanctuary and they all had completely useless jobs for the purpose of survival.
Pete, the paralegal.
Yeah.
We had, Tim, funnily enough, Tim from HR.
Yeah.
I worked in team leader of web design. Yeah. There was some pretty bad ones. My character was called John the Asshole, just because he'd been through so much crap that he was just everyone's enemy.
Yeah.
And then the Wendigos coming towards the door, and we're all banging on the door, screaming. This one girl, bless her, was taking it to the next level, and she was full crying to get these people to let her in. These people are having an argument to let her in. Sidetracked. Britty's character was running around going, no, no, and then the Wendigo, and I was just like, take her! Just gave her to the monster, and then you could almost see the monster go, oh yeah, and just go drag her away, and I was like, yeah, I had no regrets.
That was a good, I really enjoyed that part about ATF when they started bringing all those people in, like completely useless people. Yeah. And the thing about that particular ATF is that they specifically limited the amount of food that you had in the game. So they had a meal count. So the meal, every time we went and had meals, like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we'd have that meal count go down. Now, out of character, we didn't not eat. It just meant that particular thing would start happening to our characters once the meal count ran down. So there was a lot of cannibalism.
Everyone turned savage.
And a lot of the corporate types became meals, especially of the pit fiends.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. I think because of the lack of fruit and vegetables in their diet, they got scurvy.
I didn't eat all of them. Britty became a dog.
Yeah, Britty became a dog. That's right. Yeah.
Or was it Flopsy?
Yeah. Flopsy. Yeah.
She became Flopsy the dog.
Oh god, she was like there for a few hours. Too.
Yeah, no.
And you go by.
She's like, actually, I'm an NPC, and the red cat was like, oh my god, do you need water?
Yeah. It was like a very interesting little set of encounters there. I really enjoyed that one. So yes, that was the second. That was technically the third ATF, but the second of that trilogy per se. So towards the end of Saturday.
Oh, is this the story
this
of the priest?
The priest story of the
one
priest.
Of my favourites.
You see, because of the way that the story had progressed by now, everyone was quite on edge. So there wasn't really a lot of discussion for diplomacy or just general talking and stuff like that. So this is one of the encounters. I was playing an NPC for the second game. So one of the encounters that they put out, it was only a suggestion really at the start. And I'm going, yes, let's do it. So I had like a suit that I got from Savers or something like that, ripped it up a little bit, got some tie and stuff like that. So it made myself look like a preacher. Had the sunnies on. I still had my beard going and slightly longer hair, shorter than it is now, but slightly longer hair. So I looked quite scruffy. And I had a conglomerate of my followers, which was absolutely fantastic. And I decided I'm going to do the whole televangelist thing. So it's like, I feel the presence of God within this town. I feel the need to heal the people. And I was doing this for a good 4 minutes because we actually had a bit of a bet how long we'd last. before we left for it. Everyone, but I think the number was you're going to last about 5 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of
We got
NPCs went on break to
Yeah,
watch.
we got to 4.5 minutes anyway. So I'm doing this. I'm like going, I feel that there needs to be a healing within this town, and I'm doing this, and I'm going, can I hear a hallelujah? And all my conglomerate would go, hallelujah. And we're coming in, and we're starting to talk to people. Starting to approach a large group of people who are in the centre of the area. One of them was Mitch, who was a bit sort of put off by the whole concept. And we're just basically preaching the word of God, like the actual God. Now, one of the junkers, in fact, most of the junkers, but one of the junkers specifically, he's called himself the preacher. He is the priest, for lack of a better word, of the Church of Oprah. Which is very important because the junkers follow Oprah as their god. It's in a roundabout way. So when I came onto the scene preaching my particular god, we're just basically talking to people, trying to get them. We had Britty come along, be an NPC for us, and we did the, I need to heal this child! Yeah. And I push her on the ground, and she's no longer blind anymore. Hallelujah! And I get a conglomerate of hallelujahs from all of the people. And I turn back at the group of people, and there he is, the preacher. Comes out. He just had enough of this shit. It was no talking whatsoever. It was just no. The word of Oprah was just law. Comes in. One shot to me. I'm knocked out and I'm on the ground. He just goes mad slaughter and starts cutting down the whole progression. We're just getting murdered left, right, and centre. I'm lying on the ground. I've got sunnies on, so I didn't have to close my eyes because it was perfect. And I'm watching one of the guys who had a bottle of water. He was using it as holy water. So he was shaking people. And when he was getting shanked, he was shaking it
and just throwing it everywhere.
During that whole fight, so one of the other people came up to me and immediately stabilised me, so I didn't die, which was bad because I then got put into being food. But goddamn, it was a beautiful, beautiful scene.
This meat is very holy.
I enjoyed it. I kid you not, I was there for probably 4.5 minutes of just preaching to the loudest I could possibly preach for as long as I could to get away with it. And I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, the whole scene was phenomenal.
That would have been so chaotic, but it was good.
The chaos.
Yeah.
That was new.
It's what it is that
because he said cocked his gun.
Yeah. It's a filter for
I get it.
words. So that's one of my ATF stories. I could go for 2 hours on ATF itself.
There's so many stories I could go through.
Being told with that one, the pit Mark and that were sitting with the big group of people as they watched Preacher approach you, and then just watched what he did and just sort of went, let's just turn around and just pretend it never happened. It'll be fine.
There was part of us we were hoping that some philosophical debate would happen between me and the preacher.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know. It was a bit of a shame that it didn't happen, but still the whole scene was absolutely perfect. It was fantastically done well.
Some religious trials.
Yes.
To see who's
a lot of people it didn't make sense in character why we were there because we didn't exist till all of a sudden we just existed. Yeah, absolutely. But it was just a funny scene that we knew it was going to be a bit of fun and add a bit of dynamics to the game.
Improvisation, maintenance team B.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right. Any other stories of ATF before we move on to the next interesting story?
If I kept telling stories from ATF, I'd be here for a very
I'll
long
finish off my mutant story because after that I did get to play another mutant, and because I unlocked the gate and everything, they asked who wanted to be the super mutant. And I said, I'd love to be the super mutant. So I got this big mask and the hugest LARP sword I have ever seen. It could double as a shield. It was massive. It was has anyone seen Silent Hill? Pyramid Head with the giant cleaver? It was that. It was massive.
Oh, it was Peter's one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, so I ended up being nicknamed Pa. Because I only knew one word, because that was the only word that could be legislated with this floppy thing upon my head. Yeah, I was always coming at you at a slow pace, because otherwise the mask would slap me in the face. It all started with us all wading out in the tree line. It was this long road of dirt, the hills that you head upwards.
Yeah.
So there'd be just two hillbilly mutants, the bait, just sitting in the street, doing something, playing with a couple of rocks, and then suddenly the pit fiends had come up. Oh no, it was the Junkers first, sorry. So it was the Junkers, some of the mutants, and just a few people from the town had come up.
Yeah, I was part of that group too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that was so beautiful.
So yeah, they saw two hillbillies, and they just started approaching, like, drawing out their weapons and everything. And then 2 more mutants stepped out, and they kind of slowed down and like readied their guns. They swapped from melee to guns, and then they kept advancing, and then all of a sudden, like, 8 to 9 mutants step out, and they kind of just gobsmacked at this point.
That was surprising big
and
time.
then my favourite moment was just stepping out with this giant cleaver and standing in the centre, and then just going smash, and they all just charged, and oh, it was fun. So many people just crapped themselves and bolted.
It was one of those beautiful things about the whole thing. It was very generic in the way the encounter was, but what it made it really good is that we positioned the way the NPCs interacted to try and hide the amount of people that were actually there.
Yeah.
Instead of just having 8, 9 people standing on a thing, we specifically tried to organise it so some of the NPCs would go up high and some go low, try and actually hide the numbers, which is why the confidence they had originally. And then when they got close enough, we basically sprung the trap of basically bringing us all in. And they were shocked and surprised. They realised that they were outgunned, especially after they started going to the fight first and realising we weren't going down from a few hits. Yeah. We were pretty meaty. And we took out quite a few people then. That whole group scattered, either from death or just basically scattered and ran. And they outnumbered us too. And they could have maybe taken us, probably with quite a few deaths involved. But it was beautiful because it invoked fear. Genuine, actual, holy shit, we're not dealing with them again because they're way, way tough. So after they basically left, bolted. The pit fiends came up with a couple. I think there's a couple of mutants in there.
And they came up with shields too.
They came up with shields.
Which didn't help because I had smashed.
That's right. The pit fiends came up and they're like, we're getting a little bit more prepared with what's going on.
And they came with Britty.
They came with the dog. Yeah.
They came with Flopsy.
And again, because of how meaty we were, we annihilated them as well. Like 2 people, I believe, died.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them either scarpered or other things happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was beautiful in the way that it invoked that you're not as tough as you think you are.
Yeah.
However, had they worked together,
they might have done something.
They might have been able to win that particular fight, and that's what we enjoyed the most, was the fact that they don't work together because of the way all the factions are put together.
They kind of just scattered.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's great that it's got that dynamic where we don't want to work together because the role playing got to that level where I don't want to work with the pit fiends, they eat people. I don't want to work with the junkers because they're unreliable and just go.
I don't want to work with mutants because
exactly, mutants. Even though the mutants was hugely powerful. With
I know. Like Dan's character takes half, like, what was it, 1 damage from everything.
The way that the way the system works is that generally as a mutant you basically just take far less damage than everyone else.
Pit fiends always had me just.
They
were just amazing.
Was it like Uncle Boss?
Like,
not just Uncle Boss, it was just like the whole lot of them getting into like
really
Daniel Hyman getting into it, like when he's coming in with these particular characters, got like the shorts on and stuff like that. And he's looking just like the part stuff, and then you got all the one of the, I think she's from, I can't remember if she's from South Australia or New South Wales, one of the investigators who came to that particular ATF, and she's wearing like the red and white the square dress. Do you remember that? She's part of the Pit Fiends. I think she was part of the second game.
Oh,
and she had that sort of like
dancer.
She looked like this pretty from the 1950s girl and whatnot.
Yeah.
Looking, you look behind. If you look from behind, you just go, oh, okay, just some random person wearing a 1950s sort of dress type thing. And you turn around, she's got a big spike and blood all over her face.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I'm gonna stab your face.
So I remember me as a lieutenant colonel in one of the last days when I went to ATF being tortured, like I was being what do you call it? I can't even think of the word. They were trying to get answers out of me.
Interrogated.
Thank you. Interrogated by the pit fiends, and because I was like cyborgy type, like they couldn't penetrate my skin.
Yep.
Yeah, synth skin. They couldn't penetrate my skin. So I had them like on like pretty much like standing over me and like injecting stuff up my nose. Yeah, because like they were trying to think of ways to like
harm
get
you.
this like truth serum and all this other stuff into me.
Just stick it into her
So
brain.
it's like
that'll
I
work.
had like stuff stuck into my eye. I had stuff stuck in my nose. It's just hilarious. Some of my best memories with them.
What,
All right.
what about that last, the last stand of the militia and the pit fiends with you and the senator as the hostage, and the whole SDA walk up? We've got everyone with like as many guns as we could muster. We have a guy with a bloody rocket launcher. Basically, we walk up and we're just like, you either give us the lieutenant colonel back now, or we leave and we come back and you're all dead type thing. And I'm just standing there like, this is not going to end well for anyone. And they had you held by two people. They had this senator with what was Dan's name? Dog?
Yeah. Yeah, dog.
Yeah, dog. Yeah.
Dog. He had the senator with a knife to his throat. And then they had the sergeant, who was Lieutenant Colonel's protector, off to the side. They hadn't... But basically, while the gunfight starts, I rush over and start stabilizing the senator so he doesn't die, pulling him around the corner as I go. Because I'm like, we can't let him die.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Thank you.
Pull him around the corner, get a bandage out of my thing and start wrapping it around his neck. And then we're like, okay, we need to leave. Can someone help me carry the senator? And that's when the sergeant comes along, literally just grabs the senator, just heaves him over the shoulder and just starts walking. And I'm like, okay, or you can do it. And I just grab my pistol and start marching after them.
That was really good.
That was so much
That was
fun.
the best.
Now, I'd like to apologise for everyone on that particular story because unfortunately the disconnected of the internet did happen in a little bit in that story for like just a few brief seconds.
Aww.
We still did the story, still did the recording because we're still recording this, so when we re-release it, it'll actually have that story itself. So we apologise for that one. So, the last part about ATF I'm going to go on about because...
We need to get on to
Can't
the
resist.
story.
Because I can't resist. Before we head into the heist.
The heist. The heist.
The heist.
Okay, so for ATF, they had a Game Zero. And in Game Zero...
Oh,
You know this story.
Oh.
Game Zero was basically their test game. So what they did in Game Zero is that so much I've got to tell to make sure they understand the concept of what's going on. 3 factions. One of them was the Raiders. One of them was the STA. And one of them was just the general townsfolk. When I came along to this, I came in with this mentality, goes, cool, post-apocalyptic, yeah, I'll join in. I really didn't have that much investment in it when I first did it. I went, I know everyone's going to go the Soldier Boy, STA, or go the Raiders because they're the 2 popular factions. Being part of the town wasn't going to be that popular, but, I'll take one for the team and I'll just go for the town. There was tickets available for the others one. I'm just going to go to the town. Went into the town, didn't think too much about it, didn't have a character. Then someone in the group chat basically said, I'm going to be the mayor. That person who said that was Luke, who we know as Mecca. Mecca and I have known each other for quite some time. And I've just gone, nah, that's not happening. He's not going to lead this team. I'm going to be like the sheriff, and actually lead the town and use him as my patsy. So after that, which was absolutely fantastic, I had this whole mentality of, right, I now have a character. I know exactly what my goal is and what to do. And I became the leader of the town, even though the mayor was, and I used him as a patsy as much as I could. So much shit happened. So much shit happened. At the end of it all, I managed to sort of get the STA to help us fight off the Raiders. At the very end of that fight on the Sunday, the very last thing we did, I had Mike Brady come up to me, who was the leader of the STA at that time, come up to me, put a dagger to my throat, and said, I could end this here right now. And I go, yeah, I know you can, but I prepared for that. He goes, yeah, I know you have, puts the dagger away. After that, now you got to realize that I didn't have this notion in my head. All we had was this notion of we were, instead of picking a side to win the weekend per se, we decided we'd team up and become a team. So when we approached the corporate guy about saying instead of which side is going to be the winner, we said we're doing this together. Mike Brady said we're going to create USA 2.0. That was my thing. Mike Brady did this though. I was not prepared for this because the guy asked what our positions would be in this new thing. Well, he goes, well, he's going to be the president, so he points to me. I'm like, okay. So I'm the president of USA 2.0 in that character. And the SDA were my soldiers.
Oh, shit.
So now you know where all that came from for that game. That's why I'm like, as a player on that, because I was playing on that third game, I'm like, oh, I feel so proud.
Yeah,
I'm so proud.
Funny comment from Willem. The ending of the ATF saga was amazing. Cocaine nukes are great fun.
Oh, I know who it
The
is
line
now.
of coke.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Lines of coke off a nuke.
Yeah, the very. Oh no, we'll
You
have to tell
have to
the,
say
we'll
that.
have to
You
say
have
the end
to.
of that particular scene because I was actually there when I was one of the very few people who left. Because by the time Game 3 ended, most people had decided that Sanctuary was not worth sticking around for and left. All the mutants bar me left.
Disneyland.
All of the faculty left, I think, except for like one particular person who, throughout the whole game, throughout the whole three games, had lock-picking skills and stuff like that, but there was nothing to lock-pick, or nothing to dismantle, or nothing to sort of break into, or anything like that. There was none of that until this bomb was there.
Bob was there the entire weekend.
I know, but finally at the end of the weekend, he finally got to use these particular skills, so he was able to pull the bomb apart and stuff like that, and get to a certain point, and figure a few things out, and got down to the typical red wire, blue wire concept. So it got down to that. So this is like the very last. This is like Sunday afternoon before we're about to end the whole game, and with all of the information he had, with all of the skills he had, that was only basically came down to the red and blue wire, which he had no information. It was basically a 50-50 chance to see what was going on. So he's decided, all right, we're going to cut this wire, but before I do, let's light some speed out on top of the bomb, sniffed it up, and then cut the wire. And the GMs basically said, game over,
Yep.
without telling us what the results were, if we cut it and destroyed it or not, which was absolutely brilliant. Then they did a debrief, and then they told us that we actually cut the right wire and dismantled the bomb, which was good.
For those that
And I was there when he was doing it too. I just going like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to have some speed too. I'm like a mutant and whatnot, and I don't know what this is going to do to me, but you know, fuck it, let's do it. I was like, I think...
I still can't believe like they actually cut the right wire. I was expecting the whole place to just beat up.
I got a sneaking suspicion as a person who writes games, writes LARPs, does Dungeons and Dragons, all that type of stuff. There might be an element of this is how we want the story to go.
Yeah.
More than did we cut the right wire. But you never know. It's a little secret they keep sort of in the background. Maybe they did have a thing going on which one we cut.
You
I
never
don't know.
know.
We'll never know.
It's like, tricks on you.
I
It's
just
both
find
the
it
wires
funny
cue the
that
explosion.
like by that point, I think there was like maybe 10 to 20 people left in Sanctuary.
Yeah, out of
and
the 100.
everyone
yeah.
else made their way to Disneyland.
Yeah. And
With
most
20% losses, I think. it was.
most of them didn't. Quite a few didn't make it.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to jump in because this involves all four of us to certain extents. So I'm going to give you some bit of a background information. A couple of quests ago for Soulcraft, we had a quest at Cryal Castle, and I was one of the instigators of a lot of the stuff that happened there because at Cryal Castle I had so much opportunity to do things I couldn't do at other LARPs. And I've never actually seen it other LARPs done. Doesn't mean they haven't been done, just I haven't seen it. So I had so much going on that I could do at Cryal Castle, and it's become really difficult to do afterwards, but because of the last town, it was actually quite good. I got to the stuff to do. But for Cryal Castle, one of the biggest things, because there was a few, one of the biggest things was the casino heist. So me and Brett being Bellagio, being the Seconze guy who's running the casino, basically sort of off and on chatted about how we were going to do it. But we didn't really plan all that much because it's one of those things where you just put a few key points in here and there and see what the players do. Because you can't plan for this shit, realistically. Cool. So we got, I got Chris to help me help make a safe. It wasn't quite a safe, it was like a box with a lock on it. He also custom built a new lock, so it was like one of those old-time locks with the old keys, stuff like that. So we rebuilt it for this purpose. Put that on the thingo, and the idea is that we were having the High Rollers game. And the High Rollers game had a 10 silver buy-in, and 10 silver in this game was a reasonable amount of money.
Yeah.
And they had, at least 15, 16 players.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're talking potentially 160 silver, which is like, quite a few gold and all that type of jazz going into it. Now, not all of that money went into this particular type of pot, because some had deals going on in the background and freebies and so on and so forth and whatnot. So that's basically the general concept of what the casino is. So at the start, the casino, the High Rollers game was going to be on a Thursday night. So for that week, on the Monday night, I basically told the members of the Underworld that to rob the casino of the High Rollers game take. So that was basically the whole setup. And all Brett and I did, Brett just set up his little bits and pieces. I put, we had 3 keys. One I sold as part of the black market. One was on the guard captain.
Yep.
I can't remember where the third one was.
It was around the girl's neck.
Chick's neck from Seconze.
Bellagio's Lady of the Floor.
Oh, okay, there you go.
She had it around her neck. I remember that.
And that's basically the setup.
that was it.
That was basically it. So the only other thing we're going to consider is that the location itself. So the casino was held in a small tower, which was a 2-level tower at Cryer Castle. So at the bottom part of the tower, they had the general games for the general public. So they're talking the roulette wheels and stuff like that. And the guard captain also had his position at the bottom part as well, which is really important because you have to deal with the guard captain's actual base at the bottom of the tower. At the top of the tower is where they actually held the High Rollers games and the other bits and pieces they do for the High Rollers during the week. So that's very important. There's only one stairs going up, which is part of the whole thing. So there's only really one way in and out of that whole place.
Yeah. Wasn't easy.
Yeah. So hopefully that gives you enough concept of what the whole setup was like to give you an understanding of what these people will tell you. Who wants to go first?
Well,
You're the one that did most of the planning, so...
well, there wasn't just... There was so many little groups involved with the heist. Like, Highwaymen were a big, thing in it, the underworld, but there were so many other people involved.
Oh, there was,
Oh, so many people. That's why the pot got split so much.
Yeah, it did.
But, I was there to make sure that I, had access to the casino, and they didn't think I was too suspicious being there, on a High Rollers night. I was at the casino every night. I was laying, every day, laying coins out. I was wasting money left, right, and center. Talking to Bellagio and just talking with everyone, getting a layout of everything. I got taken up to the High Rollers room. I got to see the layout. Because I was there so often, I managed to receive the 2 invitations I needed. I got the ladies' night invitation, which was good because I was there. So it was good. I wasn't odd being there on the High Rollers. And then I got the High Rollers invitation, which is what I wanted. But that was so many nights, so many days I was there. Anyone needed me, I was at the casino.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just winning money, losing money. Just wasting money a lot of the time.
Curiosity, did you end up more in the end?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely worth it in the end. And then, so that was, pretty much staking out the joint and trying to find out the ins and outs and having that one entranceway up a very small...
It was a very
small
tight
staircase.
Yeah.
In and out of there, fighting on that was really not an option.
And it was dangerous.
And you didn't want anyone to get hurt, but so I was there every night, just wasting money and talking with people, which was good. And then I'd go talk to go back to Highwayman and we'd be like, psst, psst, we should do this, we should do that, we should get this involved. And everything else, and then talk to the underworld and talk to Chris and talk.
No, I'll talk to my handler. Yeah.
It was just so much. But then the problem was we could get there, we could get in there. We had the access, we had the invitation. We were legitimately supposed to be there, but how were we going to get out?
Yeah.
We didn't really want to kill people. We didn't really want to just run in there and. Kill everyone and steal it.
We kind of Ocean's 11 did.
We really did.
Well, that was the general whole concept. Because had you guys decided to go, had anyone decided to go in just with the kill everyone concept, you would have come down on them with the hammer.
Well, that's the thing. Like the guards captain's place was downstairs, so you had you had the guards captain and all the guards and everything downstairs. You had like security, like you had Imperials because the Imperials had taken over at that stage. They had taken over.
That's right, they had two, but I didn't yeah.
That's okay.
There was 3 Imperial guards upstairs.
Yeah, there was 3.
And all the high rollers, like all the major high rollers, still had their swords on them as well.
Oops.
So you'd have to fight through them to get out if you were going to go in muscle. So like muscling your way in there and just taking the bag by force was not going to be an option. No. So you had to think about things like, how can we just distract them? And yeah, like the night it happened, I didn't get up there until like well into the night because I wasn't given an invitation because I didn't have enough money at the time. And I was like, well, how do I get up? And then little healer, Britty, was going to be doing portraits for the high rollers upstairs. And she's like, oh, I need a protector. And I'm like, yes, you do. I go upstairs with her, and I get to the bottom of the stairs and like, we're going to need your weapons. And I'm like, anyone that knows me knows I carry a lot of weapons. Yeah. So I take out my swords and my dagger. And
anyone who's seen Sinbad.
Can I at least keep a dagger? He's like, nah, you need to give that over to her. I'm like, fine. I give over all my weapons, my throwing knives and everything. I walk upstairs and I keep an eye on Britty, and she starts plying her trade on people. And I walk up to one of the other people that was working with us, and I'm like, they took all my weapons. And she basically just like hikes up her skirt a little bit, pulls a dagger out of her boot, and just goes, here's dagger. I'm like, oh, thank you. I put that in my jacket.
Because I had daggers in my boots, because that's why I wore the long dresses. I had daggers in my boots. I had a dagger up my corset. Like, no one was going to get any of my weapons. No.
Yeah.
I was just the weird one who went up with 2 swords.
You were allowed. I wasn't known to Bellagio, so... But yeah, and then I was watching the room and just sort of like seeing what was going on. And I was blown away by what planning had been done. Because like as I walked up, I saw this jug bearer carrying some water. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. You don't get that downstairs. I don't offer you drinks of water. Kept walking around. And at one point I just saw her walk over to a table, pour a glass for someone, and then walk off. And they just grabbed their cup and they drank from it. And then I watched as a member of the underworld walked over, put a vial in front of them, and walked away. And I went, they've dusted the water.
Drugged the water.
Yeah, quite a lot of the water was dusted.
Yeah.
I just, like, every time someone took a drink of their cup, Leonardo would walk along, put a vial in front of them to tell them what they'd drunk. And I'd be like, okay. I just kept walking around the room going, oh my God, this is amazing.
Then was your thing you were doing, which I found was absolutely...
I was going to say, the problem we had was distraction.
For those who don't know, I've done a lot of massage and stuff in my background, so deep tissue is one of them. I was thinking, oh, maybe the guards won't be so useful if they're noodles. So I went around turning each of them into... well, paste. And then I also offered one to the Pelagio's, or I forget her name, but she had the key around her neck. I was like, oh no, you're going to have to take your jewellery. May I take that for you? She's like, oh no, I have it. Like wrapping around, and it's like, oh well, you instantly knew, fair enough. How intuitive of you. And finished that, yeah. And then as soon as the goats are coming, I was like, goats! At the top of my voice, and everyone just kind of turned around, and then Sarah snuck off with Janos as a sort of bodyguard.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like the thing about like we came to you to organise the goats, like because
Britty organised most of the goats.
Because you at the stage with the mercenary king, so you had a lot of the little contacts of like people who just wanted to start stuff.
Yeah.
So we needed that distraction. We needed people to come inside and just cause a distraction downstairs so someone could get to the box.
I love them. Yeah.
The other thing is that happened at the stage as well. He was right out front of. He was with the guard that was right out front of where the chest was, giving him a massage. So this guard's not paying attention at all. And we've got like Chris, Deitch was like running the edge. And
Actually, there's an important fact
Watching him
before you
grab
get to
his
that
sword.
particular point that you've also forgotten because it's very important that made the difficulty level of this increase massively. Janos, the Black Avatar, was also in there.
Yeah.
See, Janos was my best friend.
We get along so well.
I loved Janos.
I just remember watching, like, I was standing there waiting. You'd pulled the guard that was guarding the box itself.
Yep.
You're like,
I'm going to need to
giving
put you
him a
in chair.
massage on the stairs.
Yeah.
And
Chair
he's like,
away.
I can't get the right angle. Let me just grab a chair for you. Grabs a chair and puts it in front of the throne and then gets him to move off the stairs to clear the stairway and puts him in the chair and keeps
Facing.
massaging him.
Yeah, see, that's why I
And
said it was
I
important.
was watching going, oh, that's a good idea. And then all of a sudden I just hear this like blood-curdling scream from downstairs and I'm like, that doesn't sound good. So I put my hand in my jacket grabbing the dagger. I hear running up the stairs and I'm like, this is weird. And all of a sudden, 3 or 4 goats burst into the room.
That's
And
when
I'm
I
like,
yelled, yeah.
right, go to pull my dagger. And at that point, the 4
Noobs.
high rollers that were like right next to the staircase all turn around drawing swords. And I'm like, I don't need that. Let's turn around and go get Amarantha out of here. And as I'm about to turn around, I just see Janos stand up and he literally just goes, you're interrupting my fun or something. Draws his rapier and just goes, poke! 1 goat rider dead. And they go, oh shit, go to start running down the stairs. And then he just follows them. I'm like, okay. I look around looking for Amarantha and I'm like, where is she? I need to get her out of here. You're clinging to Bellagio going, protect me!
The thing was,
What kind of establishment is this?
the thing was when the goats happened and everything, and Chris is in the back, like Chris is getting
The coins,
the coins.
What was it you wanted to say?
He's in the little room, and as I'm sort of watching everything go, I see Bellagio like coming up the thing. I'm like, oh shit. Protect me! Please, make sure. Please, you've got to save me. So I pretty much throw myself on him.
The inner damsel.
Yeah.
I heard part of the story too that Fabio was also getting into the drugs and just helping people
Yeah.
also have drugs.
Yeah, he was sitting at the table in his disguise, just like openly dust everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
Oh, that's not it.
oh yeah, all in!
It was so good. But then yeah, so they came up and I'm like, protect me, and then like I had quite a few of my group there. I'm like, quick, you've got to get me back to camp. And I went. Like I didn't touch anything. Do you see here? I didn't touch it. I did not
In
rob
fact,
it.
The
I
highwaymen
didn't-
never touched the bag.
None
No.
of us.
It wasn't.
It was another
Technically-
sneaky no-named fucker.
Was it?
Oh, Ryan!
But it wasn't. I didn't touch the bag. I didn't steal it. I may have helped.
We may have
A lot?
facilitated the touching of the
Facilitated,
bag.
My biggest regret on the whole casino thing is that I came up to the casino to basically sit in the background and just watch what happened. As both a instigator of this whole concept, as a GM, and just as a general person who loves this type of stuff, and knowing that I've never been in a casino heist like this to this particular degree, and I just wanted to see how this all go down. At the same time, I was running the gang fight, so I had to leave to do the gang fight moot. And I was thinking, all right, I should be fine. You guys still might take some time to do your stuff. Go do the gang fight moot. We're 10 minutes into the gang fight moot, and bang, you fuckers have just come into the moot going, we've done it. We've robbed the place. And you've like thrown out the sack with the coins in it and stuff like that. I'm just going, holy fuck. Holy fuck.
When it was going to happen, it was going to happen quickly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We work fast.
There was no messing around, especially after the goats come in and everything was thrown around. Like we had to get out.
Yeah,
Quick.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But the worst thing
Do
about
the
it is
Johnson.
the worst thing about it is like yeah, I
He
didn't.
dodged the torturing, apparently.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Willem.
But I didn't steal it. I didn't touch it at all. But people came after me.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
They
did.
came after me.
Sim, you better tell me what's
strongly.
happening or I'll turn your
Like,
head into a
so
fucking
bad.
canoe.
Like I didn't do it.
Hey, no, but
Sort of.
it did allow for a really interesting day the next day when Amarantha walks into town that night with her honor guard of all highwaymen fully armored, weapons out the wazoo, and all Venators fully armored, weapons out the wazoo, an honor guard of about 30 to 35 different warriors, all in full plate,
That was so good.
walking in with both Vargas and Amarantha in the center, and it's like, yep, you picked the wrong person to go after. This is what real power is.
That was so much fun.
It was beautiful.
Like not just the heist, like
Was that the same night? No, it was the end night of the week that I did.
like
this.
Cryo Castle was
We'll wait until
amazing.
after break.
Like the underworld stuff that we got up to at Cryo Castle, so much stuff that people are not aware of
Absolutely.
what we were doing.
That's why we're going to quickly go into another story of the underworld at Cryer Castle, because it was at the very end. This is your specialty. Story.
My distractions.
So I was talking with. I hope I get your name pronounced right. Bale. From the guy who come from the United States.
This is
Berkshire.
From Berkshire, the Berkshire guy. And he and I have been chatting, like we were chatting earlier in the week about just general LARP stuff and whatnot. And he was telling me the stuff that he would do at LARPs and whatnot. Then I had this particular this idea of doing a store robbery. I've had this for many quests. So we were talking, and I'm going, my brain just kicked in and goes, I think you'd be perfect for this because of all the stories you've been telling me. Like, I know from what the stories you've been telling me, you'll be in for this. So I tell him my idea, and he's just gone, yes, let's do it. Then we had to sort of like organise a time and whatnot. Then he told me about the fact that at the end of the week, which is the Friday night, they do a sale late at night too, of all of their remaining stock at half price or whatever it is, just to sort of clear out their stock so they don't take so much back. And I've just gone, let's do it during that. That's the perfect time to do it. It's the end of the week. Don't have to worry so much because they weren't open a lot during the week because they'd sold out most of their stuff at the first day. So they didn't have a need to open up for the rest of the week. So I couldn't organise it during the week, which was fine. It was actually became perfect because we had a few more people come into the underworld by the end of the week. So there was more people to sort of enjoy with it. So I've gathered the underworld. I'm trying to say, I've got this special meeting happening. Well, and they were thinking like this big thing is going to go down and I have to talk about this particular thing. And I've basically sat them at the table in front of the tavern where they were holding the sale. And I've basically sat them all down and I just basically said, all right, I want you to rob this joint.
That was so funny. It was just like, we thought it was like, because it was at the end of the week. So we're just like, pretty much sure we'd done everything. And then you go, we need to rob Birchnut. And I'm like, that's so cool. And they were like, who's gonna do it? And then I think I asked Chris first. Cookie Chris.
Oh,
But once we looked at the place, we knew we had to get the Yawn out of the area because he was the one running the store.
It's Biol, I think.
Biol?
Yeah.
And
he'll correct me.
We're all like, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? And I'm just like, I could probably do it because we followed Amarantha and I was wearing full plate. So I was like, I can get one guy out of the room.
I was just like,
the dagger.
But like, walked up, like I was meant to go in, get him out so that everyone else could go in and rob the place. I walk up to him, and I'm like, I just want to ask you a quick question. And I pull my dagger, which I'm relatively quick with my dagger. And I go, I'm going to have to get you to come with me. And he goes, oh, really? And he taps my leg, and I look down, and he's got his dagger out against my leg, and I'm like, oh, you're a quick fucker. Okay. Well, I'm still going to have to ask you to come with me. And he's like, what's going to make me? And I'm like, oh, him. And at that point, one of the bandits, was it Zarin? I think it was Zarin, comes over, grabs his dagger and puts it into his back. And we both sort of like drag him outside. And I like get to the front door. And as I'm dragging him out, I just watch everyone else walk in. And then I see Sebastian, or Ash's character, literally just grab both doors and just go, boof. And I'm like, okay, it's happening.
And what was the very first thing you say?
We got to start at the beginning, okay?
Yeah, you have
We've got to start at the beginning. So, I thought it was the end of the week. I was at the tavern with me mates, and I'd had about, 4 pints by that point. I was getting to the legless state. I was sloshed. I came out and Sarah was like, you can get people, yeah? I was like, how many? She's like, how many can you get? I went into the tavern. I said, yo, it's my last night as Mercenary King. Who wants to come with me? So I ended up collecting about around 10 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 people came out and was like, all right, I've got 10 people. What are we doing? We're robbing that place. Cool. Went in, and I don't know why I was brain dead at this point. I just came in and went, everybody move! And I just stopped, thought for a moment. Wait, scratch. Nobody move! Had my dagger out. I was just
Everybody move!
Yeah. And then everyone was just like, everybody move. I was like, well, move to somewhere, I don't know.
Oh man, I'm sitting in the back. I was like sitting in the back of the tavern there just to keep an eye on everything.
Everyone was so worried at first. Everyone was like, what are you doing? And everyone just gave up.
Yeah, everyone's trying to do like some somewhat serious role playing because you're under a robbery, but everyone's laughing their heads
That's
off.
the thing. Like, we got behind the counter and I just couldn't stop laughing. I was like tearing up.
Everyone was like, I'm thinking. It was like, don't hurt yourself. I was like, oh, fuck, the alcohol was hurting me more than anything else. And then we got to the point where I had to I got serious and I said, no, because Bielor?
But the thing is, while you were starting the robbery, I pulled him outside. The doors had shut on us. And I'm standing there with him. We've both got daggers to each other. And I'm just like, this is not going to end well for either of us, is it? And he's just looked at me and he's gone, no. I'm like, suppose we should just get this over and done with, eh? He's like, yep. I'm like, all right. And we both just start jabbing each other. Like, straight out front of the tavern where there's like heaps of people. We just stab each other to death in front of the door. And I'm like, I die, he dies. And I'm like lying on the ground and I see Britty walk over because she'd been sitting at the table just out front because she was with the group. And she just walks over and she just looks down at me and just goes, starts healing me. I get healed. I get up and I'm like, thank you. It's like, what do you want me to do with him? I'm like, stabilize him for now. I just need to see what's going on. So I run over to the window and I look inside. And I see it doesn't seem that we're getting very far. And I'm like,
well, no one knew where the money was.
I need a hostage. Heal him up. And I take his dagger away. And I'm like, cool. Grab him as he's healed. I bang on the door. Sebastian opens the door. I'm like, cool. Push the guy inside. And we continue on the robbery.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't until I threatened her life. That's when I kind of said, okay, this is dragging on. I was like, where are they? It was only then.
Was it Desiree?
Yeah,
so.
It was.
She was definitely part of the group.
I think it was at that point he just goes, no, leave her alone. And she's just like, tell him. And so they told us. We took the coins, and as I put my dagger down to get the coins, she grabbed it, and then I had this little wall to get the dagger back. And I was like, oh, I'm too drunk for this. Got my dagger back. I was like, cut it out. Got my coins, and we had to all sprint away.
Yeah, we all just scattered.
Yeah, we all just...
It was just a beautiful little thing.
It was funny. It was fun.
so funny.
It was a good
Because
way
it
to
was
finish.
so not planned. It was just like, yeah, rob that place. And it's like, okay?
Yeah.
What can I say? What can I say?
You don't
This is
understand.
distracting.
That is the best way to do it. Like, we have some sort of like, all we have to do is basically people just to be there to make sure that, if any questions really need to be answered out of question, they can be, and make sure everything's going safe, that you're not being total dicks and treating it like a combat encounter, because you couldn't treat that particular scenario as a combat encounter because people had been drinking and we were at the tavern and there was store stuff there, so on and so forth. So yeah, you had to have this intense role-playing, we're being robbed and people want to be heroes and stuff like that. We're going to do it in such a way that it's not degenerates into just everyone pulling out weapons and trying to kill each other, because it just wouldn't work in that scenario.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden we have people from outside of the tavern wanting to get involved, so on and so forth. But it was... You can't really plan for these things because there's no fun planning for them.
No,
best
it was good though.
Plans always go away.
Exactly right.
No
plan survives contact with the enemy is pretty much a good saying. All right, so we're going to have a break.
Yay.
That's the first thing we're going to do. When we come back, we will do some more storytelling. I am going to come back and tell my story of Drakenfest and my orc capture story. Get to tell it and videotape it for everyone to listen to, because I've told this story so many times.
I haven't heard it.
Maybe I'll tell a zombie apocalypse.
I think I've
Oh,
heard it.
really?
No.
I thought I would have told you by
No.
now. Well, there you go.
And I thought I was your
Go to
friend.
intermission?
Intermission. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so now I get to go into my little story. Little. This is a bit of an epic story, so hopefully you can follow me and I can tell this well. I've told this story many times to many people, and now I get to tell it on TV, sort of. So I'm going to do a little bit of setup to give you an understanding of what's going on. So in Drakenfest, in the rule system, when you create a character, you have points and you buy things. Simple as that. There is 2 rules you can purchase. One of them is that when you go unconscious from when you get killed in battle, that you'll bleed out time, whereas instead of being a minute and a half, it's 3 hours, and you actually wake up from it. So you don't actually die unless someone comes in like coup de graces and stuff like that. So I took that because there wasn't that many skills that I could pick. The other one was that if you go unconscious in a battle, you could actively still be active, not full sentences and whatnot, but you could sort of like crawl and say single words and stuff like that. And ask like help, you know, you're unconscious, help, so on and so forth. So I took both of those abilities, which is very important to this particular story. So I can't remember which night of the week this all happened. All I know is that we'd have gone through 3 different battles. So we did a siege on one particular camp. Our camp got sieged, of which during that particular siege I copped a cannonball to my shoulder and got taken out during the fight. I actually think it was an honor gun, but anyway. And then, so there's these 2 particular big fights for the day, and obviously after that you go to the tavern, have a drink, so on and so forth, relax yourself, and then come back to go and relax. And in the gold camp, they had an Inquisitor's little building. They purposely brought this little building, filled it out with all this Inquisitor stuff. It was phenomenal. But at the back of it, they also had a large bell. It's like one of those church-type bells. So whenever a fight of any particular type occurred, especially when we're under siege, they'd ring the bell so everyone knew exactly that we have to get ready to go do something. It was fantastic in that particular sense, so you knew exactly what something was going on. So at 11 p.m. at night, 11 p.m. at night, now Drakenfest is held in a farm. No power. All the lighting we have is torchlight. So at 11 p.m. at night, when this bell gets ringed, no idea what the fuck's going on, and I've just gone, holy shit, something's going down and we have no idea what it is. I'm not even going to bother putting my armor back on. I'm just going to grab my weapon and come out, because we just needed to rush a whole heap of people, because it wasn't a big 300 fight. It was something like 30 or 40 of us managed to sort of scramble together. We were right next to the black camp, and we had a pact with the black camp of protection. So we had the orc camp, which was over the other side of the whole place, up on the hill. They basically decided to do a siege on black camp at 11 p.m. at night. This is very important. So they brought down their battering ram, which was in a covering as well. And our whole objective is, with just the 30, 40 odd people that we could muster in the gold camp to try and help the black camp, was to just destroy that siege weapon to stop them from sieging. We came out, we managed to, I don't know what happened, we managed to somehow destroy it. And we come out, it's completely pitch black. The only thing that we got is the light from the moon and stuff like that to help us out a little bit, as well as a little backing light from the camps themselves. There's enough to fight with, enough to see, but it was still pretty dark. I got told that the siege item had been destroyed, and they're like, all right, cool. All right, now let's go. Now, after that's happened, we've been fighting to get to that particular thing. We're all grouped in a little group, and I have a look around, and despite the fact that we've just destroyed this particular siege weapon, there's 100 orcs.
You're like,
Yeah!
Yeah, it's like, I've turned around and go, all right, we're going to get the... Oh, fuck.
Collective anal
Because they were prepared for this. There was like, the thing they wanted to do was like 100 of them at least. It wasn't the whole camp either. There's like, and just like, and they're all like dark. They've got like, there's an Urukai orcs type look that they got going. And they at Drakenfest, when they do their orc look,
yeah, they do Wunderguild masks.
they do absolutely schmick stuff. So yeah, we've basically just surrounded completely. Like, I looked behind to see if we could just like get back to our camp. No, we'd committed too much, and they had completely surrounded us. And we are just getting hacked down left, right, and center. All of us in this small group of 30 of us. We did our objective, but we're just getting hacked down, hacked down, hacked down. one of the beautiful things about that particular fight is that I went with the role playing. So as soon as I got to 0 hit point, I went down to the ground and died. However, which was I found really good, is that the orcs, when they play, want to really play that sort of aggressive, hard ass, everyone's afraid of them, and they do it really well. However, in that fight, as soon as I went down, one of the orcs straight away knelt down, came, grabbed my hand, and pulled me out of the fight to make sure I was fine, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. It's basically a way of saying we can do this fight, but as soon as I see something that looks even remotely dangerous, I'm just going to very, very quickly just make sure you're on good.
Yeah.
And then everyone get involved with it and go, yeah, no, just quick pause, let that happen, and then just go back to what we're doing. You know, don't dwell on it, don't worry about it, just make it quick, get him out, done. Yeah. Continue on with this fight. You know? So I was out of that fight. Because of those particular 2 rules, I can get back up from, or not get up per se, but I can like look up. Hobble a little bit. No, not hobble. I like still lying on the ground, but I could like get up on one arm and see what was going on. And I'm watching the orcs just go through the group of 30 odd people that we had, just hacking them down front and center. And I'm just going, oh wow, we got our objective. And I'm thinking nothing of it after that. You know, I lay down as all the orcs start heading back. Every once in a while I look up and I see there's a few more orcs happening. Oh, all right, look back down again. Lay down again so they annoy me. Look up again. Oh, there's still more orcs coming, but they're starting to filter out now. There's almost very little left. I look up one particular time, there would be a dozen orcs left in the area if I'm lucky, and I'm thinking, all right, cool, should be fine. I lie back down again, but one of the other orcs had noticed while I was doing this, and I've like looked up just briefly, like just the neck craned up a little bit, and I've looked and see one of the orcs coming towards me. I'm just going, oh fuck. I'm like shitting my dax because oh no, all right, just play dead. Come up to me, grabs their weapon, and pokes me in the gut. Now, I have to roleplay this because I am, by the rule system that I picked, I am still conscious. So I'm like, ugh! So they've picked me up and taken me back to their camp.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Now, these are the 2 things that I noticed immediately, right? So I get put on the ground and I'm lying on the ground. And I got one of the orcs, they've dismantled all my weapons and they put it at the gate. I still had a dagger sitting in my belt that goes across my chest. And they didn't notice that at first. So I was lying on the ground, I had a couple of orcs around me, making sure I wasn't doing anything. One of them just slowly noticed what was going on. I was hoping they wouldn't notice it so I could use it. And he's like, just suddenly noticed it, just wrenched it right out of my sheath. And I'm just going, damn it. I look up. And I see one of the other people who had been part of the Grand Expedition, one of the English guys had come over, had also been captured. And they've put him on a Wheel of Doom. So if you don't know what a Wheel of Doom is, if you watch Conan the Barbarian, the very first one, where he's the kid and he puts on that wheel and they just basically whip him and make him turn that wheel, he was on that. And the orcs were whipping him. So I've said to him, hold on, don't let him break you. One of the orcs comes in and smashes me in the face. He actually connected with my lip. So I get up. I unfortunately had a bit of a back issue, so I had to have a brief pause where I get up my back because I was lying down in a weird angle. But they take me to the gate, and in the gate they've set up a small jail. And I get put into the jail, and there's 2 other people in the jail there with me, and they were not part of the gold camp. And I'm thinking to myself, how long have you guys been in here? This is what I'm thinking because they speak German, so I really couldn't ask that particular question. And I'm just going, oh shit, I'm like kind of really scared now. Like, how long have these guys been here for? All right, I have no idea. 2 orcs come up to the gate. One of them, obviously they speak English. And they go to me, are you important? And I'm thinking to myself, my very first thought that if I say that I'm important enough, they might ransom me off for gold or something like that. Then my brain went, oh, hang on, no, they're orcs. So I was being a Mato Santiago, the Spanish, noble, ladies' man type thing. And my response is, well, the women think I am. They look at each other, look at me, this one. Open up the gate, pull me out, and they take me through their camp. And they've got like skulls, bull skulls and stuff like that happening, and all this particular thing happening. And it was just surreal. But what was the most surreal part is when we get to the back of the camp where they're doing their ritual. And there's all of the orcs. 300 of them, all in a circle. And there's this pile of skulls covered in blood and other meaty bits, and this pole was basically a tree in stitched together to be basically a cross, and hanging from the two ends were two braziers with fire coming out of them. That was the only light source. As soon as I've gotten into this particular area, there's this girl in this white dress crawling on the ground, screaming for her life. Fucking this huge surreal thing. The two orcs have taken me and goes, "You're very lucky, you'll get to see this." And I'm like, oh, are they gonna like let me go free? And are they gonna let me go free and tell the story of everyone so they got like more of that fear factor and whatnot? I was so wrong. They come up to me. The rocks. They come up to me not long after that and basically said, very special. You'll be part of this." And I'm like, what does that fucking mean? So what they had was this little fountain, this little bowl, and it was also attached to like a fountain. I can't remember exactly what it looked like, but it was like a little statue that was holding out like a bowl or something like that, and it had blood in it. You couldn't quite see because of the dark. They basically put me on my knees, pulled my head back, slit my throat, and they poured a whole heap of fake blood over me as they did it. So it just felt like my throat was just coming out. Like they pour crap loads, like a full bottle of water, a bottle of fake blood basically just came over me, and I'm like covered in fake blood. Yeah, slit my throat, and I'm just dead. So I'm going to continue on playing with this. I go completely dead. I go completely dead body. They have to drag me physically away. So I'm just getting dragged through the grass, just being complete dead weight, getting dragged into the dead pile of all the other people who've already killed. And I see the same guy, the English guy there who'd already just been killed before me. And so we're basically both in a dead pile. Now, one of the beautiful things was that one of the orcs came over, sat with us, and translated the whole scenario, which I thought was really fantastic. So there was a lot more to this than just that. Like, dead, but because he translated the whole thing, there was a whole bit more stuff going on. So they had the whole skulls happening and the thing. And they had this, like, guy going around who was kind of like doing a bit more of a greyskin orc. And he was, like, doing the ceremony of the whole thing. So he's leading the whole thing. And it was this girl from a different camp. I've met her before, so I knew she was from the Black Camp. And the Black Camp is notoriously known as the dark camp in like vampires and all that type of stuff. Not chaos, because it was actually specifically chaos. Kind of creatures and whatnot. So she was known as a vampire. Like if you met her and her entourage during the day, they played that vampire stuff up magnificently. She was sitting there and he's doing his ritual. And he's explaining it to me and whatnot. So the idea of their ritual is that they want to basically sacrifice as many people as they can to their god to get rid of Limbus. Because Limbus in Drakenfest was basically a place you go to come back alive. And the orcs specifically wanted to end it so they would no longer come back alive. And that's why they're getting all these people, and that's why they're doing all these sacrifices. And they had this arbitrary 350 sacrifices or something like that to do it. And they've been doing this over several of the events as well. So, however, she was there at this particular time, and she was being part of the ritual. And they basically said to her, "You got to give something." So she's knelt by the skulls, pulled out her dagger, and gone slit her wrist. And as soon as she did that, the guy who was leading the whole procession had, while she was busy doing her little part, a whole mouthful of the fake blood, and as soon as he slit the wrist, he splurted all that fake blood out on her hand. It was like super surreal. And he's just gone, "Not enough." So she's on the other wrist. Same thing again. Blood from the mouth spurted all over her hand. She's like, both of her arms are covered in blood that he spurted out from his mouth. "Not enough." So she's gone, all right, slits the side of her throat. So like, not enough to like kill her or anything like that, but enough to sort of draw a lot of blood. Again, another arc of fake blood that he spurted out from his mouth onto her neck and her face and everything. "Not enough." I kid you, 4 times. Does the other side, cuts her neck on the other side. He again splits it out. She's still alive after all this, but covered in blood. And like, we're talking like just 2 little torch fires, like brazier fires. This is the only light you're seeing. You see a pile of skulls at the bottom, and all of these orcs around, and all this stuff going on.
That's creepy.
That's amazing.
And apparently, she's like the very first person to have actually left the orc camp alive.
She was vampire though, wasn't she? Yeah.
It's kind of like
There's these
a role-playing
technicalities.
vampire more than an actual vampire within a rule set per se. So it's more of a, if she died, she died. She still would die, same rules as everyone else. So it was more of a role-playing thing, how she managed to get herself in there and get back out again. Still at the end of all this story, by the way. Because by the time all of this had happened, it would have been 1 a.m. in the morning before we finally get out. We get told about the whole story about how they wanted to do all these sacrifices and rid of Limbus. So it's all gone, it's all finished, and we head off, get our stuff, and head to Limbus. And they're operating still 24/7.
Oh, jeez.
1 o'clock in the morning, there's like a group of 5 people there. And because it was so dark at that time of the night, it was beautiful. It was a perfect time to do it. Me and the other English guy had gotten in, and he talked to the girl who was the head of Limbus there, and he was going on about this epic story and whatnot. He was absolutely fantastic. One of the best role players I've ever seen in my life. And he was going on this big epic story about everything that was going on. It kind of like dumbfounded me a little bit because I don't even know if I can improve on what he's just said. He's basically just said everything that I would have said. So I didn't do it as well as I could have in that particular type of scenario because I think he overtook me in that one. I didn't portray that to him at the end of the game, which is a bit unfortunate, but things happen. But we get to go through the maze. And so what they've done in the maze is they've got dark areas with backlights. And other people, as soon as we entered in, there was like 4 other people with her. As soon as we entered, they've gone into the maze. And all they've got is black robes and white masks. And they're hiding in all these dark corners with the black light. And you go through this maze, and you go into a dark dead-end corner. You can't see shit. It is because they've got all of the cover of the thing. There's no more moonlight or anything like that. It is completely dark. There's lights here and there everywhere once in a while. But you go around in a particular corner, you don't know if it's a dead end or anything like that because it's completely dark. We had no idea where we were going. And you come around to a corner and you see this white mask. It's all you see because of how dark it was. Magnificent. We finally get out of the maze. We finally figured it out. And the maze backs onto the town cemetery. And in the town cemetery, the people who run the cemetery were there at 1 a.m. in the morning. And one of the girls, her costume, her character, was essentially the character from the Saw movies. She had that whole white mask with the looked like a doll. Yeah. Like a porcelain doll. And the typical Undertaker guy there with the top hat and stuff like that. And they were all there just to make sure that when we exited out of Olympus and came back alive again, we were still fucking freaked out by all these guys. Him and I just gone, after that, I think we need to go to the pub because it was just over there. And we got to the pub, had a drink, and like it was the best experience. I think it was like 3 a.m. in the morning by the time we got back to camp. That is my whole. That is basically the whole story. Walk up to Black
and be like, "The shit I do for you."
Oh, we told them. Yeah, we told the guys within our camp the next day about all this particular type of stuff. Then it was going, "Holy shit! I want to get captured by the orcs now."
Of course they did.
Oh,
that's amazing.
That is my amazing little story. That's like the Drakenfest story that I tell.
That's really cool. Like the detail and the role play and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Is obviously of a higher caliber.
I think it's more of a case of. I think it's more of a case of what people don't realize, from what I've seen anyway, is that it's Europe. They've been doing it longer, so they do have that more caliber. It's more of a case of, like, even me with the experience that I've had. When you get there, if you don't go that extra mile to make it a role-playing game, you're shaming everyone else because they're already doing it.
Yeah.
So you go, all right, I've got to. You've got to make that extra step. You've got to role-play that extra bit. You've got to be part of it because they've brought this stuff to you, and the whole environment makes you do it. And that's I think the beauty of it. That's my orc story, everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
to you.
No,
I thought I've told you that was
I've
true.
known you for 18 years and you've
you.
never told me that story.
Wow.
You look like you're unhappy.
I am unhappy. I thought he was my friend.
Do you need to make up? All right.
I'm sorry if they have to tell any more stories after that one.
No, it's time to go to bed now.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I was sent to see my handler.
Shall I tell the story of Ander?
Yeah, go into the Ander story.
And how much he messed up. So, it all started at just before CryoQuest, when they were having the whole senator campaigning thing. And a certain Ander Brightwood was running as senator for the Coterie. And in his senator campaign online, he decided to accuse the highwayman of dealing in dust, which for swordcrafters, you know, for those that aren't in swordcraft, is a make-believe drug made out of various mythical beasties.
Yeah.
Sherbet.
It's basically just sherbet in a vial.
It's very tasty.
Has various role play effects depending on what type of dust. But he accused us in a public forum that we were dealing in dust, which we never did ourselves. We got other people to do it for us. We're smart about that. But anyway, he accused us. We weren't very happy about it, and the person that was making all the dust was not pleased and decided that Ander needed to be taught a lesson. So I was like, that's happening because he's a vampire and I don't like vampires.
Cormac put a bounty on him, didn't he?
Yes.
Like he...
Five silvers and a vial of dust. No, it was a silver and a vial of dust.
No, it was 10.
No.
No, because I got...
You got 2 coppers.
Oh, yeah, because all I wanted was 2 coppers.
Yeah. So it was a silver and a vial of dust, which is worth about 5 coppers. And I'm like, cool, he's dead. I don't care. So the first day of Cryle Quest, he decides to come into our camp all willy-nilly like nothing's wrong. And I'm like, Amarantha, can I kill him? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh. Get to the second day, in the morning. No, it was getting close to lunchtime.
It was
Close to midday, yeah.
Yeah, so it was close to midday. And who happens to walk into camp? Ander. And he's all by himself. And I'm like, this is perfect. Amarantha, can I do it now? And she just looked and she's gone, yep. I'm like, cool. He's about to leave. And I'm like, Ander, you can't leave camp by yourself. There's goats going around killing senators because they were known to do that from time to time. So I'm like, give me a second. Let me just get some armor on and I'll come as a guard. So I go get my armor on. Yarlov gets his armor on. He's like, I'll come with you. I'm like, cool. And we walk around and follow Ander for about an hour and a half, I think it was. Because he went to do a couple of dealings and trying to find a couple of different warband leaders to talk to them about stuff.
You went to the...
Lions.
And I forget what they are. They're the new one, white, yellow and black.
Muslin.
Muslin, yeah.
So we went to go see both of those. Both the warband leaders at the time weren't actually in. And he was like, oh, I've got to go into town. I'm like, perfect. I've got to go collect my winnings from the battle this morning because I put a bet on us winning the battle. And because we had a cannon, we won the battle. Everyone hated that cannon so much.
The one of
Destiny.
many toys to come.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, cool, I can stop by the casino and collect my winnings. So we go into town, and I'm like, oh, we'll go right because it's the quicker way to get to the casino. We go right, and I'm like, where can I do this? Because I needed to be somewhere away from everyone. And I look at the tavern, and I'm like, it's closed, so perfect. Oh, let's just stop by the tavern real quick because I haven't actually seen it yet. I just want to have a look inside. So we both walk down to the tavern, and I'm basically, you know how it had like that on the right-hand side, that alleyway?
Yeah.
That went down the hallway? We walk down there, and I basically go a couple of windows in, and I like put my face to the window going like this. And I'm actually going, yeah, there's no one there. Look behind me, there's no one there. And I'm like, cool. And Ander was like standing right beside me, and I'm like, so, I have to tell you something. I put my hand on his shoulder and I draw my dagger and have it at his gut. I'm like, Cormac sends his regards. Like, lay him down on the floor. And I'm like, while I've got him on the floor, I'm like, just so you know, I'm going to be taking your teeth. Because he was in a warband of vampires, so I was taking his fangs. So I use my dagger and pluck out his fangs. While I'm doing this, he's standing guard.
Yeah, as soon as it kind of happened, I kind of just went and walked over to the side of the wall and just stood there with my sword out. And about because it was Cryle Castle and it was open to the public. About 3 people walked out. They got cameras. They looked
Oh,
like
you
nice
just told you
tourists.
today.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they were 3 tourists
I wasn't
came out of
waiting till
nowhere
night.
where they're looking and they see him on the ground and like him with the dagger and they were just like shh. And I just told them they just went and they walked off laughing. Yeah, you just witnessed a killing.
So I took his teeth. We waited around until he bled out, and then I went back to camp. And I'd already organised that I was going to be the one to kill Ander. So I'd brought some fake fangs to bring with me. So if I did manage to kill him, I had something provable. So I walk into camp, walk up to her and I go, "I got him." And she's like, "Good." And so I ended up getting a vial put into a necklace that I ended up putting the fangs in, and I wore the vial on me at all times. So I just had this vial with 2 teeth in it the entire rest of quest.
Basically a personification, fuck you.
Yeah, basically. And it was like, we were told afterwards that he was told that he was not to get a promotion within his warband until he got his teeth back, which I thought was hilarious. I don't think he was very pleased about it, but oh well. Sorry. But what happened is it became a thing over the next quest, is that I had his teeth and he had to try and get them back. So his idea to start this thing was that on the first day of the next quest at Lardner Park, we're about to have the big ceremony of the start of quest. Everyone's gathered in town square. I'm standing there, full cloak, completely covered. What you don't see is under that, I have all of my armor on. I have all of my swords on me. And he walks up to me and he's like, "I know you have them. I will get them back." And I'm like, "Oh, will you now?" It's like, "Yes, I can smell them on you." I'm like, "That's nice." And I see him like, as he's talking to me, he's like, his hands moving down to his belt. And I'm like, "You really trying to..." Okay. Literally, one swift move, knife from hilt, like from sheath to gut. And I'm like, "We all know how this ended for you last time. Don't test me." And he just sort of looks at me and I'm like, I put my hand on his shoulder and I'm just like, "I won't be happy until your entire race is wiped from the face of Althea. So, go away, little boy." And he walks off, put my sword dagger back in his sheath, and I just sort of go, "Yep, your entire idea was to come up and threaten me within minutes of the game start. Cool." Walk back up to camp. I had a bit of a in-house situation that I had to deal with. Felix. And after that, I walked up to the Venator camp looking for one of the Venators who, after I got the teeth last quest, he was like, "How much you want for them?" And I'm like, "I think that's a good way to make it harder for him. I'm going to sell them." So I went down to Venator's, found Dietmar, and went, "So how much are you willing to pay for one of the teeth?" And he's like, "A silver." And I'm like, "Sold." He gives me a silver. I give him one of the fangs. Then I walk down to the underworld. Walk straight into the Shisha Den. I'm like, "Tim, I need you to hold on to something for me." It's like, "What?" Like, "This." Give him the tooth. And I'm like, "Just protect it for a while."
I sold it.
Yeah, I know. I end up, the next day I end up walking around and then one of the coterie members comes up to me going, "I got Anders' tooth." And I'm like, "How?" He's like, "Sekonze sold it to me." I'm like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Give me a moment." Walk down to the underworld. I walk in, I'm like, "Amato! So, I heard I heard you sold the item you're holding for me." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Where's my cut?"
Did I give you a cut?
"Yes, you gave me $1.50." So I made more money off selling his teeth than I did of actually killing him. It was fun. But yeah, after that, it ended up with one of the Venators holding one, and one of the coterie members who in character doesn't like Ander holding the other. So I was like, cool. And then I was like, I put a bounty on Ander saying that I wanted him dead, and a note had to be left on the body saying Christoph sends his regards. And Leonardo pulled that off, which I thought was glorious in the way he did it, the poison. So he died once from me, then died again from someone else because of me, which... And after that, I had to go to work on the Wednesday. So I ended up going to work. And while I was at work, what happened?
Nothing. This is the part where I go into me. Now, my character came to know Christian's character. Yarloff came to know Christoph during, was it 2 quests before that?
Yes.
He joined the Highwaymen through a drinking contest.
Yeah, I lost so bad.
Yeah. Christoph showed up because he was basically, he had to get information regarding, I think, Lady Octavia at the time of the coterie. And he threatened me, to which I just said, you know, you're going to have to do a lot better than threatening me in a bar, surrounded by people. He says, what do you suggest? I was like, you know what, I'm in a gaming mood. So I ordered these big tankards of cider. We ended up going through a lot. Anyway, over the course of the multiple quests and the role plays, Christoph and Yarloff became very good friends. During the last quest of Althea Lardner Park, Yarloff got really mad at the Gold Avatar for disappearing a tank.
He sent the tank to the void with all hands.
Everybody in it.
We lost 4 warband members on the first day.
If some of you don't know this, I call in favours all the time, or I used to as Yarloff, because I don't trade in money, I trade in favours. I do favours for people, they do favours for me. I called in all of my favours to attack the Gold Avatar, and the looks on their faces was priceless. I said, all right, we're attacking the Gold Avatar. They're like, all right, so what do we got? We got cannon, guns. I was like, nope. Void dagger. Mm-mm. Any powerful weapons of any kind. Mm-mm. We still have to do this, don't we? Mm-hmm. So me and a few others just attacked the Gold Avatar. There was quite a few of us, and I told him beforehand. This wasn't just a random spring out and smack George. No, I set it up, and I got the green avatar to help me kind of arrange the ambush. And he got it in his head. He's like, oh, this dude wants roleplay. I'll give him roleplay. Didn't kill me. Grabbed my head, scrambled my brain, and dragged me through gave me a vision of the void, dragged me through limbo, and then took me into death, all while still alive. So, needless to say, Death wasn't too happy that a live person was talking to him. And I got given a choice. Take my sword and remember everything, or forget everything and return. Now, if I took the sword, my next death, I decided would be permadeath. If I relinquished my sword, that means that I would come back normally. But I wanted to keep all the information he gave me, which was the prophecy. I spread that around, and yeah, I kind of got very, very hurt, scrambled, needed a lot of heals. Anyway, the following day, I got into an altercation with Ander. Ander attacked me, Cormac came, and I was killed in defense of one of the younger highwaymen at the hands of Ander. And Ander decided to send a note to Christoph saying, what was it?
Once you die, I got back to quest from work. I go into my tent, I change into kit, I come out and going, yes, time to get it back into some roleplay. This is going to be a good day. As I walk out of my tent, Cormac walks up and is like, you, me, we need to talk. And I'm like, okay. Walk over to the tea tent, and he sits down in the throne at the front. He's like, take a seat. I'm like, no, I'm right standing. I don't want to really sit down at the moment. He's like, no, sit down. I'm like, okay. I pull my dagger out. I put it on the table in front of me as I take a seat. He leans across, grabs the dagger, moves it to the other side of the table, and I just look at him and go, okay, what the hell is going on? At that point, he sits there for a moment just thinking, and then he reaches behind the seat and pulls out Yarloff's sword, and then reaches into his pouch and pulls out a necklace that a pendant that Yarloff would carry on him. It's called Yarloff's Favour. And he put them on the table in front of me. And I'm just like, where is he and what happened? And at that point, he reaches back into his pouch, pulls out a piece of paper and hands it to me. And I'm just like, okay. I open that piece of paper and it just says, Ander sends his regards. See you soon. I have never felt as much rage at any roleplay instance ever. Like, I got so angry. Like, my original idea is I walked down to the end of the tent and I just screamed. And my original intention was to just walk up, grab Yarloff's sword and walk to the coterie and cleave my way through as many of them as I needed to get to Ander. But I couldn't. Instead, because it was such a big moment and we'd already lost so many people as well, to lose Yarloff, I just sort of walked outside, walked behind the entire camp into the grass, knelt in the grass and cried. But I was so angry that my entire body tingled. And I was like, well, this is a new experience. I don't think I like this.
Oh, you'll love it.
So I spent the next 2 days figuring out how I was going to get him back. I walked into the coterie camp, walked straight up to the Baron. I'm like, you know what he's done? You know what I want. What will it cost me? And he looked at me, he's like, I can't put a price on any of my men's heads. And I'm like, cool. I will get him, just so you know. And at that point, I took the vial that was now empty off my neck, and I'm like, give him this, and tell him he will never, ever see those teeth again. And I just walked out of camp. It was the Thursday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Coterie members rock up to our camp. Mm-hmm. And I'm like standing in camp and it's the coterie. I'm like, who from the coterie? It's like, oh, it's Connor. I'm like, cool, I want to speak to him. I walk up to the thing. I'm like, the rest of your group stay out here. I need to speak to you. I bring him inside the camp and I'm chatting to him about what the hell went on with Ander. How did he manage to kill Yarloff? And I get told the story and I'm like, cool, what do you want? Because they're looking for something. And they're like, we're looking for an item. And we were told that all the clues that we've had is that it lies with the warband that has weaponized sting power. And I just sort of look over to the tank and go, yeah, that sounds like us. What's the item? He's like, it's a bone or a vial of bone dust about yay big. And I'm like, cool. Pardon me. I will get this item and I will send a runner to you as soon as I've got it. And he's like, okay. And as he's leaving, Amarantha and Cormac show back up. Cormac, being the one that witnessed Yarloff's death, was none too pleased that coterie members were in our camp. So I got an earful for that one. Whoopsie. But after they'd left, I went over to Amarantha. I'm like, okay, they're looking for an item, a vial of bone dust or a bone about yay big. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I want to trade it for Ander. And she's like, do it. I'm like, cool. So they sent a runner about an hour later, I think it was. Mm. And he's like, we've gone through all the clues again. We don't know who else it could be. It has to be with you guys. And I'm like, yep, we have your item. What it'll cost you is you need to bring Ander to my gate and let me do to him as I wish. And I will give you your item. And he's like, okay, I'll take your terms to the Baron. They leave. I don't hear anything else about it. At 10 o'clock, we'd finished up our shisha. den time, so we walked back up to camp, and I literally went about starting a ring of lights so I could see what was going on if they did bring Ander to me. And about 15 past 10, there's a knock at the gate. And I'm like, I open up the gate, there's Connor. And I'm like, okay. I look behind him, there's Ander. I'm like, excellent. Reach into my pouch, grab the vial. I step outside the gate. I'm like, as soon as he's in my camp, you get this. I watch Ander walk in, and I literally just go, good doing business. And I walk in after him. I then proceed to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour torturing him in various ways.
It was the best lullaby I'd ever heard that sent me off to sleep that night. Like, everyone's like, and we had this in bed. You gotta keep it quiet. I'm like, nah, it's fine. It's fine. I actually fell asleep to the sounds of Ander being tortured. Like, and
Music to my ears.
It was not quiet. It was not quiet.
I was not nice about it. But the best part was, like, I start cutting into him. I take a couple of fingers, like, I like jab him a little bit in the gut at one point, and I'm like, I go to pull it out, and he like grabs my hand and starts like pushing it in, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how you want it. This is how you want it to be. Okay, get off. And as I pull it out, he just goes limp, and I'm like, oh no, he seems to have died. Healer.
Yeah.
Call over Brittany. She comes over, heals him back to full. He's like not moving. I give him a poke, and he like jumps back to life. I'm like, yeah, you didn't think I was going to let you go that easy, did you?
Of course not.
And at one point, I'm like, he's like going on about, oh, it's the end of the world. We shouldn't be fighting over trivial things like this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why are you doing this? And I like grabbed the dagger, jabbed it into him going, you killed my brother! At which point, this guy lost it.
I had to walk away for
broke character and lost it. And in the end, I ended up taking his eye, while one of the other members who'd been hard done by the coterie took his thumb. And I'm like, well, we're keeping these two parts, but you can take the rest of him. I don't care. So the next day, for the next 2 days, when he wasn't in a battle, he was walking around with an eye patch.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I did see that.
I was like, yep. And it's like, this is why you don't mess with the highwaymen. We will get even eventually.
But it's over now.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story, actually, because one of the key aspects of that one, my story is also the same. In my story, I lost. And I got one of the best experiences out of it. Andrew, in your case, he gave himself in to lose as well. I don't know what his experience was with it was, but he gave you a great experience.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm always about that. You don't have to win to have a good time.
Yeah, it was a tad emotional.
It was fun, and after that, I gave him a few hints as to where his teeth were.
Yeah, looking.
So the first one I gave him was one lies with
But the richest.
lies with the gold Venators,
Yeah.
because they're rich. The other lies within. Is how I put it. He thought it meant that while I was torturing him, I'd cut him open and put one of the teeth in him.
That would have been cool, though.
But what it actually meant is that his warband has it. A member of his warband. And afterwards, like the next day or so, he came up and I was like, very like standoffish with him. He's like, I figured out the first clue. It's the Venators. But what's the second one? And I'm like, it lies within. He's like, did you put it in me? And I'm like, you'll never know, I guess. He's like, come on. I'm like, okay. When you sit down for dinner, it is close. And that was the other clue I gave him. He never figured out what it meant, because he thought it just meant that it was within the coterie dining hall somewhere. No. Jorg has it. Just so you know. Jorg has your other tooth. One of the second in charge of the coterie bought the other tooth off Leonardo. And I was just like, It was hilarious.
No, they were great. It was always
The
good.
Yardos death played pretty hard, especially because like most of what my role play, I got hay fever real bad at Lardner Park. I especially a lot of
A
people.
few people did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had these tears running down my face. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I played it through when I got the brain scramble to the point where I was just incoherent. Following the next day, when and the only reason I'm mentioning this story is because of Mark. When I did come round and I did get attacked by Ander, there was a lot of coterie around us. Not a lot of them held people back, which is why kind of Mark had to kind of hold himself back. And then he eventually just got handed my sword with no one holding him back. So he was like, oh, God. And then he attacked them. Like, who knew? An angry man given a sword.
An
and no
angry
one was
Irishman.
Yeah,
Angry Irishman.
yes.
All right. It is now past 10 o'clock.
Yep.
I know us because we have so many more stories.
Lots.
Lots and lots and lots of stories.
That'll be apocalypse.
I would like to say thank you everyone for joining us tonight on this channel because it's a very small group that we normally have on a Tuesday talk, but it is New Year's. Figure we start off the Tim's Table Talks on an easy one. Next week, I am going to be talking to a whole heap of people who run LARPs in Australia. I am getting one of the people from After the Fall, which will be Mick, hopefully. I'm getting one of the people from Black Powder and Bloodlines. I'm getting one of the people from Dantier or Chimera Productions. I'm hopefully getting one person from Scadia. It's all based on technology and the internet not being crap. I'm getting someone from Warbirds because they're starting up their stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know I have another one and my brain's completely forgot about it, which is really annoying. It's really. So yeah, I'm hopefully having a chat with some of the war bands and some of the LARP people who are running LARPs, and we get to discuss and showcase their LARP for everyone to come and see and have a look, and perhaps in the long run go to their particular LARPs and have some fun.
Willem asks, Storytime Part 2, question mark?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, no,
we will
need
do another story time too. In fact, actually, there's two things I will do on Storytime Part 2. There are so many stories. We could do months and months and months of story time. So, yes, we will do another story time at some point in the future. Secondly, what I'm going to look at is that we have an intermission during this particular table talk as well as our D&D table talk. And I want to get the people out there who have the ability to record their story to record their story and send it to us. If you don't have the ability to record your story but want a story to record, contact us and I will invite you to my place and you can record it here off screen so we can just have it as a recording and then basically add it as part of the intermission of both of those events. So your story can basically be told from here on in.
So our halftime ads, basically.
Yeah, half-time ads. So if you've got a really good, interesting, integral, great role-playing story, by all means, contact us and I will track you on for Storytime 2. And we'll give it some sort of cheesy 2 name.
Storytime the second.
Story time,
it's
not the first.
It's the 80s, man. It's like Storytime 2, The Return.
Story time returns.
Yes.
Revenge of the green screen.
It's Revenge of the Green Screen. So, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you for the subscription. Much appreciated. And hopefully we'll see you at our D&D game on a Sunday night and enjoy us there where we have silly shenanigans in Althea. Currently in Althea, they are heading towards the Black City in Musalon to find the Death Cult.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've asked particular people of Musalon to come along for some of those nights in the future.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're going to have some special guest NPC here and there.
Great.
For
Nice.
Musalon. So,
Haha,
as I said-
I'm in danger.
So yes, if you are interested in our D&D game in Althea, yes, I am trying to expand it so that particular warband people, in particular areas that we go into, become more prominent. I kind of missed out on getting you guys involved from when we were actually in Carpathia, because it was kind of a new concept back then. Hopefully they'll go back there at some point in
The
time.
thing is, we only just took over that. That's not where we're based.
No, it's not.
but we were
Based where the
within
war
where
is.
the war was happening.
Yeah.
So highwaymen were there were order there were coterie there, so
Yeah.
it's all a big mess of just people.
So yes, for our D&D game, we will hopefully get guests becoming their characters in how they were in Althea to be part of our D&D game. Yeah, that's right. It's that time of the night. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming along. Thank you for any subscriptions or any bit cheers you chuck in. And we shall see you either Sunday night or next week as we go talk more table talks. Good night, everyone.
Thanks. See you guys.
See ya.